Hi, I'm Chanel. Welcome to Spirited Stardust, and today I'm wrapping up the books that I've read in this week of July. So this week I read 9 books. So I read 3 fiction, 5 graphic novels, and 1 non-fiction. So I'm going to get started with the non-fiction, and that is Signs of the Zodiac, a modern guide to the age-old wisdom of the stars by Carlota Santos. I became aware of this because she has a tarot deck, which is very, very pretty. So I thought I'd have a look. This has all the star signs. So you've got the star sign, the planet, the element, qualities, the house it's in, about the star sign, constellation, their ruling planet, how to manage the energy, amulets, which includes stones, flowers, colours, the corresponding tarot, a sort of spell or a ritual. That's probably not close enough. Compatibilities with other signs, and the sort of myth that correlates with that star sign. Besides that, so you've got all the star signs. Let's keep going. And then you've got, after Pisces, you've got the planets. So it talks about all of the planets. It talks about the moon with the signs in the moon, and the sun, and lunar phases, and then it goes into the other planets and the signs in those planets. And then it also talks about the asteroids and celestial bodies like Ceres and Juno. It talks about the houses, and and then it's got a little bit about actually calculating your birth chart in the back. So it's cute, it's got a decent amount of information. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. I didn't really learn a whole lot new, but I have been studying astrology, so but it's a good beginner's guide to astrology, and I like the layout, and the quality is really good, and yeah, that was a cute book. Okay, we'll start with the graphic novel. So here is Raven. I'll show you some of the pictures. So I gave Raven 4 stars, Raven from Teen Titans. It was very nostalgic for me because as a kid I grew up obviously watching Teen Titans and reading the comics. It's obviously a bit young because she's a teenager, well, she's 18 in this, so high of the teen range, but it was still, a little young for me, but it was nostalgic, and Raven was my favourite character in Teen Titans, hands down. So I thought it was cute, it was well illustrated, it was really fast paced, but I liked it, it's fleshed out, it's interesting, kept my attention, and now my big kid's reading it and she loves it. She said it's one of the best graphic novels she's ever read. So that is Teen Titans Raven. Next up, we've got I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young. Oh, I should have said what this is about. This is about teens with powers in Robin is one of the teens, like Batman's Robin, Beast Boy, and Starfire, so it's like mutants with powers. And then we've got I Hate Fairyland, so I'll show you some of the pictures in this one. I gave this, what did I give Fairyland? 3 stars. This was okay. Look, I like the illustration style. It was a bit graphic for me in terms of the brutality, the violence. It was kind of funny because this kid goes into fairyland, but she sucks so bad at finding the key to get out that she's there for 30 years. So she's like a 37-year-old in a 7-year-old's body. And she just becomes completely psychotic. So just likes butchering everyone. So it was too violent for me. It was somewhat entertaining, but I just didn't like the main character. She was too full on, too brutish, too brass, too violent, too psychotic. And I was not rooting for her in the end. I was like, you can die. So because of that, I'm not going to read any more of it. But yeah, it was a bit of a wild trip, that one. Next up, we have Alex and Ada by Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughan. So this is in a world where there's realistic androids and sort of broaches the idea of, can you fall in love and date an android, and the androids becoming fully sentient and conscious, and what that means. So it's kind of like Bicentennial Man, I guess. So for me, I gave it a 3. It was okay. I'm not interested in reading any more of it. The main dude, Alex, was so boring. Just really dull and lifeless, and I was like, ugh, the robot Ada can do better. I'm like, don't stay with this dude. You've got consciousness now. Go and find someone else. But anyway, that was that one. And then we've got Saga 3 and 4. I'll just flip through each of them. This is number 3. So, like I said before, I like the art style. The story's sort of interesting. Am I going to continue it? Look, I'm sort of a little interested to see how it turns out, but I can also just read that online. I don't think I will be continuing this series because I sort of don't like the way it's gone. This one, it introduced, drug use, neglectful parenting, infidelity, and I'm like, I don't want to read about those things. So this is too much violence for me. I used to be someone that, I love Tarantino films and all that jazz, and Guillermo del Toro and all that sort of thing. And I don't know what happened, but I just don't have the taste for graphic violence anymore. I'd rather not consume it if I don't have to. So therefore, I'm probably not going to continue with this series, even though out of the 4 books, I guess the average rating for me would be like 3.75, so it's decent. But yeah, I just don't want to imbibe the violence anymore. So I'll just read online to see how that ends, because I am still interested to see how it ends. Now we'll get to I think that's all of the ones. Yeah, we'll get to the fiction. So we'll start with A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. Enchantments run deep from the magical Isle of Cadence. The capricious spirits that live there find mirth in the lives of the humans who call the land home. But that mischief turns to malevolence as girls begin to go missing. Adara, heiress of the East, knows the spirits only answer to a bard's music, enticing them to return the missing girls. But there's only one bard capable of drawing the spirits forth by song, her childhood enemy, Jack Tamerlane. He hasn't stepped foot on Cadence in 10 years, content to study music at the mainland university. But as Jack and Adira reluctantly work together, it becomes apparent the trouble with the spirits is far more sinister than first thought, and an older, darker secret lurks beneath the surface, threatening to undo them all. Pretty cover. This fell a bit flat for me. It was 3.5 stars, so it was okay. I did read it to the end. It had enough magical elements to keep me going, but it wasn't really that. I wouldn't call it that magical. The whole premise of the enemy is a bit thin. I'm like, this could easily be resolved. It seems a bit nonsensical. Like, why aren't you having communications and just sorting this out? So the whole thing of they're the enemies, I'm like, nah, it doesn't need to be that way. The main characters are really, once again, dull. I didn't care about Adira. I didn't care about Jack. Oh, I did not like their chemistry. She has a term from him, and the term that she uses is old menace. Hello, old menace, and I hate it. I hate it so much. Every time I read old menace, I'm like, no, it's not cute. It's annoying. I'm not into bully romances. I don't care that they've changed. I'm not into that at all. So I didn't really care for anyone in this book. I won't say much more about it. It's okay. It was just a bit dull. I feel like it could have been resolved very quickly. A lot of it is based on some people not being completely forthright with the knowledge that they have, and withholding that information. I hate that. And it's like, why, when this is going on, would you not speak up? But yeah, so that was A River Enchanted. Then we've got Electra by Jennifer Saint. The house of Atreus is cursed, a bloodline tainted by a generational cycle of violence and vengeance. This is a story of 3 women, their fates inextricably tied to this curse, and the fickle nature of men and the gods. You have, what's her name? Clytemnestra, the sister of Helen, wife of Agamemnon. Her hopes of averting the curse are dashed when her sister's taken to Troy by the feckless Paris. Her husband raises a great army against them and determines to win whatever the cost. Cassandra, princess of Troy, cursed by Apollo to see the future but never believed when she speaks of it. She's powerless in her knowledge the city will fall. And Electra, the youngest daughter of Clytemnestra, you'd think my Greek would be better, and Agamemnon. Electra is horrified by the bloodletting of her kin, but can she escape the curse? Who is her own destiny, also bound by violence? Okay, so this is hard to like really rate because it is based on the Greek mythology. It's not one of my favorite Greek myths. There's so many great ones. Did not care about the whole Paris of Troy thing, even though my brother is named after Paris and Paris of Troy. What did I give this? I think I gave it 3 stars. Like, it was just scraped by as being okay. Because I don't know why they chose Electra as the main character when really it is Clytemnestra. She's definitely the main character. I completely commiserate with Clytemnestra, so therefore I was not with Electra in her vengeance plan, and Cassandra was pretty much a nothing in this book, to be honest. I don't even know why they bothered having her point of view in there. I would rather have had Helen's point of view in there, to be honest. So this just didn't do it for me. I'm not a fan. There was too many. I don't like books with too many POVs. I just constantly stop and start. It doesn't have the flow to me. So wasn't for me, this one, at all. Next, we've got A Secret Princess by Margaret Stoll and Melissa de la Cruz. Mary wore her proudest grin as she sat between Sarah and Cedric at their secluded end of the dining hall. Outcast by nature, the 3 were occasionally ridiculed, more often ignored by their stylish peers, and thus pleasantly left to their own devices. But not today. Today the 3 might as well have been Dumas's musketeers brought to life. Mary actually liked the sound of that. So this was a book that I got in a book box. I think it was the Once Upon a Time book box. Not something I would go for. It's sort of a combination between The Secret Garden and I want to say Little Princess. I can't remember the name of that book. And I love those as a child. I did love both of those stories. As an adult, this is too young for me. What did I give it? 3.5. It was cute. It was sweet, despite the amount of tragedies actually in it. There were a lot of tragedies in this one, but they were kind of like glossed over. I thought there would be more magic involved because it does mention, like I think in the online description of it too, a genie who sort of grants Mary Lennox a sort of wish as a child. So I was like, oh, it's going to have magic. No, there's not really a magical element in this. Like there is a bit, but there isn't. So it is more along the lines of like, I would say it's very similar to A Secret Garden. You've even got a cripple in a wheelchair. But yeah, I didn't really like the ending either. Like Sarah Cruz's ending, I felt like that was a bit dumb. And like she's causing herself unnecessary sorrow. I can't talk about it here, but I'll talk about it in the spoiler section. So yeah, that was The Secret Princess Once Upon a Time. I'm just going to go get the children's book because I forgot to grab it. I'll be back. Okie dokie. So we've got, what have I got next? The kids book. So this is The Wonderful Things You Will Be by Emily Winfield Martin. Hey Sylvie. Hello Sylvie. Hello, this is Sylvie. Want to say hello? Love you. Okay, so I'll show you the illustrations. This is the first time there's ever been you. So I wonder what wonderful things you will do. So this is a really sweet, this is a fold out page. So fold it out. Alright. So this is a sweet little book about a mother to her child. I wonder what wonderful things you will be, who you will be. And I'll just read the ending because the ending's adorable and it almost made me cry when I read it. Hi, darling. Hello. And then I'll look at you and you'll look at me and I'll love you, whoever you've grown up to be. So it's a really sweet book. It's fun. The illustrations are lovely. And yeah, I highly recommend this picture book. So now we'll be going through spoiler section. I love you so much. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, I'll say goodbye and we'll get to the spoiler section. Let me just grab some of the books to spoil. So yeah, Saga, the mum becomes like a drug addict and sort of escapes into her job and detaches from, I guess, her family in a way. She's not being the best mum, not being the best wife. very resentful towards her husband for not being able to work because, you know, he's in enemy territory, so he can't. The husband's also like feeling really isolated, really distanced from his wife. He ends up striking up a inappropriate relationship with a mum of one of his kids' friends, and so that sort of goes into there. It's like I said, it's just too violent for me. It's all kill, 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 and I'm not really into that. So that's also why I'm just like, I don't care anymore about it. Finding out what happens, I'll go online. So that was Saga. Alex and Ada. Once again, I don't really want to read about AI and human relationships. That doesn't really float my boat. So that was out. The Fairyland one, like, this bitch be psycho. She's killing everyone. She's murdering like little kids, little children. So didn't like her at all. I did not care about. Once she killed that little girl, I'm going to show you the little girl. She was adorable. Right? And she found the key. She should have gone home to her mum. But here she is. Look at that little sweetheart. But no, instead of getting to go home to her parents, she killed her. We've got Raven. So nothing to spoil here. This was great. You already know everything that happens if you've seen the series. So yeah, it was good. It's entertaining. My kids adored it. This book. So the reason that I was not happy with Sarah Crew's choice, her and Iskandar like loved each other. We're going to get married. When she thought she was broke, but then it turns out your mum isn't dead. You're still basically a princess. And then she's like, well, come with me and we'll be together in my country. And he's like, I can't leave my family behind. And she's like, well, I guess we're breaking up then. And he's like, I guess so. So they break up. And then it goes years and years in the future. And supposedly they're both still like, none of them have moved on. She hasn't moved on. He hasn't moved on. They're both still single, just pining for each other. And I'm like, you're telling me that even if you just can't find a way to be together, like maybe he spends 6 months with you, you spend 6 months with him. Like, she's insanely rich. She can support his entire family. Why don't you move his whole family into one of your many mansions? And it did not make sense to me, but they're both miserable and single. It's like, lady, bring his family and all live together happily ever after. So I hated the ending of that. It was a bit too like Orphan Annie for me to this book. Just playing with my cat. I'm just playing with my cat. So yeah, that was that one. And what else we got? Oh, River Enchanted. Yeah, so the whole thing about this was that the Tamerlanes are on the east side of the island, and is it Brackens are on the west side, and they're warring because they've been, you know, what do you call it, cursed because, you know, one of the eastern chicks married the Brecken dude and they killed each other, and they just continue to war this whole time. And I'm like, not once has any of them gone until now said, hey, I know on your side, the west side, you have magic easily, but you have, you know, very infertile ground. You find it hard to get through the winters. You haven't got food and stuff. We've got food and that aplenty. The land's fertile here, but the spirits are always messing with us and we need magic to protect ourselves. So we'll give you food and stuff, and you give us enchanted items to protect against the spirits. Why didn't they do that earlier? Like, I'm sure any regular leader would be like, yeah, this is a good idea. Let's work together so both of us can be happy. But then it's like, I guess the people in the east worry, why would they want to stay in the west where it's like cold and dreary and rough when they could live in lush land of plenty? Could give them the option then. I don't know. And yeah, so instead of just, you know, trying to trade, the dudes from the west went and kidnapped little girls from the east to get their like attention, I guess. And I'm just like, it doesn't feel like legit or necessary, especially when she was like, once they sort of broached communication, she was like happy to trade, and then it turns out that she's actually the daughter of the Western Queen. And I'm like, well, and they knew that she was their kid. So I'm like, why won't you go and say, hey, we're actually your parents. Can we barter a trade since you're the leader of the East and you're actually our kid? Why wouldn't she be open to, you know, opening up a trade route and allowing people to intermingle and across the island? So it just seemed really dumb to me, the whole reason for, you know, East versus West. And oh my God, the romance was horrible. So she was an absolute twat and a bully to this boy his entire childhood, like literally shoved hundreds of thistle spikes into his face. I'm just like, and then he comes 10 years later, comes back and she's like, marry me. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then she keeps calling him Old Menace. And I'm just like, I'm not here for it, dude. I think you've got like a trauma bond with this person. I think there's a bit of Stockholm syndrome going on, you know, but to each their own. But like I said, and then he ends up leaving. She decides that she's going to go to the West, be with her mums and stuff. And he's going to give up what he does. He was going to do it. He's a bard. He sings. But in the East, every time he sings to the spirits, his life drains. So he's slowly killing himself. And in the end, she decides to go off without him. So they split up. He stays in the East. And I'm just like, this is dumb. This is dumb. It's like, go over there for a bit and come back. Why can't you do like a swapsies situation? Anyway, so I just with this book. It was a meh book for me. It wasn't that great. And then we got Electra. So I didn't really like, I think her other book was Circe. I realised now I just don't like this author's style, her writing style, her storytelling, so I'm not going to read any more of them in the future. I can't resist because it's Greek mythology. I am part Greek. And I like Greek myths. Ow, that's a bite. That's not a playful bite. That's a proper bite. So yeah, I didn't get, like I said, the point of putting Cassandra in there. She was a nothing character in this. She didn't add anything to the story really. Electra just sounded like a brat, like really ignorant and stubborn and everything else. Like that's why I didn't get to her. Like I know this is based on the myth, and the myth, like that's what she was like. But their father killed their little sister, their like young sister, slit her throat so he could get good wins on a trip. And Electra's like, yeah, she should be honoured. Like if father should, you know, murder all of us if that's what it takes for him to win in battle. Like, whoa, woman, you have got some daddy issues. Your mum's was right to want to seek vengeance. And I get it, like after her daughter was killed, she distanced herself from her other children because she was afraid that they were just going to be, you know, slaughtered like lambs for some good luck, which sucked. But grief messes you up in different ways, and watching your child get a throat slit by your husband, by her own father, is pretty freaking traumatic. So I really felt for Clytemnestra. Jumping straight to the bed of like your husband's cousin, probably not the best. I don't think that won her any points with her kids. But a woman in those times, unfortunately, she couldn't rule on her own. She needed a man to rule, and I guess the only way she could protect her children was, you know, by marrying this other dude. But then the whole thing of them being murdered by her own son, who was poisoned, like, you know, his mind was poisoned by the sister that hated her mother. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I know that the Greek myths are kind of like head fucks like that. But, yeah, I just wasn't into it. I was hoping to hear more from Helen's perspective. That's someone whose perspective I would like to hear about. Even in the myths, I don't remember reading anything really from her point of view. All you know is that she loved Paris, but she didn't love Menelaus. And it's sort of like she was sort of cursed. I think Aphrodite was also a bit jealous of Helen's beauty. I think that was what was the deal, and that's why she sort of had such shit luck. It was like her beauty was a bit of a curse in itself. There's another word, I can't remember what it is to explain that, where it's, you know, double-edged sort of. But yeah, I didn't feel, I would have loved to hear more about Achilles. I think she's got a book about Achilles, or there's another book about Achilles, but too much violence and stuff for me too. I just don't want to hear constantly about murdering, especially patricide and matricide. Like, I think that's the words for it, when you kill your own parents. Not into it. Slitting the throats of your own children, not into it. So yeah, wasn't for me at this point. And like I said, I just don't like the writing style. It just didn't do anything for me, and the multiple POVs didn't do anything for me. So I think that's everything. That's all the books that I've read. I'm looking forward to reading. So I've got some great ones that have just come in from the library next week. One of them is The Stardust Thief, and I've been excited to read that. So hopefully that's good. I'm going to continue with the Age of Empire. I forget what the series is called. Michael J. Sullivan's books. See what the next one's like. But I'm hoping to get more with graphic novels. Still haven't found one like I really love. So fingers crossed one of the next ones I read is one of those. But it was a decent week. It hasn't even been a week. It's been 5 days, but I read a lot. So I will leave you there, and I hope you have a splendid morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are. And as always, stay wild, star child.